Hi, I'm Dr. Christina Conolly, and welcome again to our MCPS series, Waymaking. Our goal is to help families find their way through this time, and that we are here today to talk about a very important subject called child abuse, and that we have with us today Mr. Greg Edmundson, who is the Director of MCPS Student Welfare and Compliance Unit, and Ms. Debbie Feinstein, who is the Chief of the Special Victims Unit in the Montgomery County State's Attorney's Office. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, so now to start the conversation today, so we have been seeing people in the news around the increase in child abuse cases out within our agencies and our local hospitals. Since families are social distancing, so one of my first questions is, so what are the signs of child abuse?
So I'll take that one. Again, thank you, Dr. Conolly. We have obviously extensive, comprehensive training for our staff, and we also have training built in for all of our parent volunteers. And that training is centered around 4 key areas of sign abuse. So you have physical injury, you have sexual abuse, you have mental injury, and you also have neglect. So any of those 4 signs, then we are mandated by law as employees, as well as just by community citizens, to make sure that we file a report with Child Welfare Services. Physical injury could be unexplained bruises or welts, any types of lacerations or abrasions that aren't able to be explained in a reasonable situation with from a student. Any reports of experiencing physical pain that may seem abnormal or unusual. Certainly any type of suicidal ideation would fall along that lines. Sexual abuse, obviously sexual molestation, clear reports or information that would involve any type of sexualized behavior, inappropriate certainly for the age, any type of sexually transmitted diseases that are reported through the schools or through our employees. Withdrawn behavior, again, anxiety and depression. These are all key signs to say, let's look into this a little bit more. That doesn't absolutely mean we call CPS right away, but it is something that as a counselor, a trained counselor, or PPW, or parent community coordinator, or even our administrators and our teachers want to make sure that we're following up on that. And then we have the mental injury, which is poor social skills, significant drop in grades or a differential in grades from what we're used to, being socially withdrawn. Now, there's a lot of kids who are socially withdrawn, and that's their personality, and they're still very successful, and that's kind of their personality where they are comfortable. But when you have a student, especially we see most often where we have kids who are typically around a lot of friends and very engaging and inviting, and then that changes drastically. That's a flag and that's a sign that could be. Again, these aren't like this is definitely happening, but we want to look into it. And then we have neglect, which is a lot of times easier to see if we have a student who's malnourished, who's unable to thrive, dresses inappropriate for weather. And all of these, again, come with that caveat. We have many of our middle and high school students who will walk out 30-degree shorts because that's their comfort zone. But we need to make sure our trained counselors and our support staff and all of our staff are able to ask questions. And if a student is not able to have these things, we want to make sure we provide. But it's certainly a sign that there could be a neglect situation if other evidence comes with that.
Thank you.
Sure.
And so then I'm wondering, so when should families or teachers, neighbors, or anybody else report potential child abuse cases?
As an MCPS employee, I can speak clearly that we are required to immediately report any suspected instances of abuse or neglect of a child or a vulnerable adult. We have 18-year-old students within our system, some even 20, 21 years old. So we want to make sure that we're connecting not just to child welfare, but we're also contacting our adult protective services as well. The word is immediately. If we suspect and we have evidence to suggest and we can explain to Child Welfare Services why we feel the way we feel, we're mandated by law, Maryland law, and by our Board of Education policies to report immediately. And that means you make the call to Child Protective Services. You also fill out the form, which is, we prefer it to be online, although it is available in hard copy. And then you notify your supervisor. And for most of us in our schools, that's our principal and our administration. If you go to the main MCPS page and you just go to search site and you type in child abuse, the first thing that pops up is child abuse and neglect page. You will see this picture. It's been the same picture for the last year or so. And right in that main header is make an online report. And if you click that, it will take you to a confidential and a locked document that only very few people can see. And that would be our state's attorney's office. That would be Child Protective Services. That would be our Special Victims Investigation Division, and our office, which is Student Welfare and Compliance within MCPS. All four of those offices get a copy of this submitted report. And that's our Form 33544. It will walk you through certain questions. Once you hit submit, instantly, all four of our offices get a copy of this report. And as I said, we have a hard copy available, but when you mail those documents, especially during this time of COVID-19, sometimes the mail could be delayed, and it could take possibly 2 or 3 days for an office to receive this. This is instantaneous, and we're following up on these reports significantly much quicker since we were able to launch this online reporting. In addition to that, I just wanted to show you this website, which is packed and comprehensive with resources available for our families, for our staff as well, to make sure that we have an understanding of what child abuse and neglect looks like and the reporting processes that we have. Also, if you're planning to be a volunteer, and I'll take this moment to add that currently under our continuity of learning program within MCPS, we are not accepting volunteers within our virtual classrooms. We may have some volunteers who are helping with some food or Chrome distribution. However, the volunteers are being limited significantly. So if you're wanting to volunteer and help us with that, we right now are on hold with that. However, the training that you must take is right here. If you click that button, it'll take you right to the volunteer and contractor training. All of these different resources and documents like preventing child abuse or information from Debbie Feinstein's office and the state's attorney's office is there. We have family resources. We have our community resources that we work with very closely with regards to our victims with Treehouse, which is an incredible organization within within Montgomery County. We have a frequently asked questions document. And, Dr. Conolly, you were significant in helping us develop that. But we also have that FAQ in all of these different languages that you see here. So really, everything that plus our foundational documents from the Board of Education on child abuse and neglect, on reporting child abuse and neglect, all of our different policies and regulations that we have approved and supported by the Board of Education.
The only thing that I would add to that is that community members should err on the side of reporting. Really, everyone should. If you have a concern about a child in a home, you should report to child welfare. You can also, your call is anonymous. You can also just call for guidance and say, I think something might be happening. Let me share with you what I know. And they will let you know whether they're going to accept the call or not, but err on the side of calling. And that goes for, if you have a concern about something going on in a neighbor's home with a family member, with something else, someone else in your life, make the calls, get the guidance. Right now, while we're sheltering at home, it's more important than ever that we look out for our neighbors and our friends and our family, because things could be going on that are never going to get reported by anyone in that household. And that's going to require what we call a bystander, someone who's on the outside that may have the opportunity to be looking in. And we're really encouraging individuals that have those opportunities and see something that just doesn't seem right to make the call to child welfare services.
Thank you both that was a lot of information, but great information that our families and community members need to know. And I cannot stress enough. I mean, we talk about, within mental health, within safety and security world, if you see something, you need to say something, and that helps you to do something. And we need community members and neighbors and everyone. If you're seeing something out there in the community or seeing something happening in a home near you, let somebody know, and and report it so that it can go and get the proper attention it needs, and they'll conduct the investigation with this. And so I know you all are doing great work around this. And so can you share with us information about your family violence campaign that's going on? And then what are the resources that are available for families in Montgomery County?
Thank you so much, Dr. Conolly. I'm going to answer that question. So about 2 weeks ago, we launched a family violence awareness and prevention campaign. And when I say we, it really is a collaborative that includes Montgomery County Public Schools, the County Executive's Office, the State's Attorney's Office, the County Council, the Commission for Women, the Police Department, lots of different agencies that were really working together to try to get the word out that services are free and that they are still available in Montgomery County for individuals that need it. And the campaign really has a simple message. Do you feel unsafe at home? Are you concerned about a neighbor or or a friend? Free help is available. And it has phone numbers there. There's also an email address, safe@montgomerycountymd.gov. Not everyone will have the opportunity to make a phone call. Lots of times, if you're in a situation where you're being monitored, you aren't able to pick up the phone and make a call. That's why that email address is there. There are also resources on the Family Justice Center website for texting in concerns to national texting agencies and other places. So if students want to make a self-report, or if they're concerned about a friend, those resources are there. And they're, as I said, they're listed on the Family Justice Center website. They're also listed on the MCPS website. There's a lot of specific resources on the Family Justice Center website that I would encourage people to check out. And I would encourage people to let their friends and family know that we have this campaign going in Montgomery County. We just had advertisements or signs put up on ride-on buses. Not that that many people are out and about, but when you're out getting your grocery store, at the grocery stores, you may see the signs. We've been working with many different county businesses and nonprofits to distribute the information in pizza boxes, food delivery boxes, to have them posted on the plexiglass at stores and things like that. So we've been working really hard and really as a community to get the word out that free resources are still available. Reach out. Someone will be there to help you. And that's really the simple message that we're trying to get out to our community members.
It's really important that our community members have the resources needed in order to manage situations like this when they arise. And so my last question is, do you have any suggestions or feedback for families to help them during this crisis?
I think looking out for each other right now is more important than ever. And I think that trying to be patient and resilient, look, things are not easy for many people in our community. And it's easy to let, frustration, exhaustion, fear, stress build up. And we have to just be mindful of how our stress as adults impacts our kids and how our interactions with each other impact our kids. A lot of the child abuse reports that we're seeing right now are kids that are exposed to domestic violence, which also prompts a mandatory report for mandatory reporters. And really, all of us in Maryland are mandatory reporters by law. So we would need to report or required to report by law. And, if you have concerns about what's going on in a house, make those reports, but really just be mindful of what what you're doing. And just to seek out help if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling like it's all too much, which is completely understandable, get help. There are so many resources out there for all of us electronically right now, virtually. And I would encourage people to seek those out and to make the call. You can even call child welfare to get resources for yourself, for the crisis center, and they'll direct you for resources for yourself as well.
Our school is a safe haven for our communities. And so if you have a concern for yourself or your child or your neighbors, you can certainly call any MCPS employee. That instantly makes us a mandated reporter as well. So we have those protocols in place that we need to follow. even if you told your neighbor who's an MCPS employee or a teacher at a school that you have no association with, they're responsible and are required to make a report if something, you know, would now make them suspicious and suspecting. But know yourself, know your family, and know your neighbors. Check in on people as you're walking the dog or you're out on a bike ride and you don't see something. We you know, everybody has that antenna, right? It goes up and we're worried about something or somebody. Make a call to one of these numbers that we've been flashing on the screens, even if it's like, you know, like Debbie said, even if it's you're not sure. We'd rather tell you, no, it's not something that we'll follow up on than, hey, you should have reported this and we would have definitely followed up on it. And I guess my last piece of advice is, you know, with our school age kids, we're for years trying to get them away from the socialization on our phones or on our laptops. And I really would encourage it right now. I think that our students have been, you know, pretty secluded and isolated for so long that I've been encouraging my own children to connect with their friends online, to get on a phone call, to just check in with some friends that if they didn't see them at the lunchroom or in the hallways at school, how would they know if they're doing okay? And just being eyes open, ears open, as you mentioned earlier, so that we can make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and our neighbors. And if there's any good that comes out of this situation that we're in, it's that we do have a heightened or a greater sense or a greater awareness of looking after our neighbors and our families and our friends, which is, you know, it's just so critical at this time.
I know. And even myself with, you know, I have a 10-year-old, and even though she doesn't have a cell phone yet, I've been trying to connect with the other parents so that they can connect socially. Like I even let her get a Roblox account for this video game that they play, and they talk with each other on there, which I didn't allow before. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna let this slide for right now because, you know, I'm just trying to find ways for kids, like you said, kids to be able to connect with each other right now since they're not in school. So, but
Virtual play dates.
yes, absolutely. Virtual play dates. Yes, yes, yes. So, and again, I want to thank you, Greg and Debbie, for your time with us today. And I want to thank our viewers for joining us again for another video in our series, Waymaking. And if you have questions that you'd like to ask us, please look at the link below and share with us again. And thank you, and we'll see you again on for our next video in our series, Waymaking.